back to Money Talks, the show where money meets politics. Today we have a fantastic show lined up for you. We've got Sheriff Howard's going to be joining us in segment 2 and 3. And the last segment, we're going to be joined by our very own Jay Blanchard, one of our wealth managers who just completed an epic journey on a bicycle across the country. So we're going to check in with him and see how the ride was and kind of get some follow-up for how it was. He raised about $20,000 for the American Widow Project, which is fantastic. So I look forward to talking with him. Before we jump into all those topics, we wanted to talk a little bit about kind of what's going on around the world. And of course, you know, a lot in the news this week. You had the Russia meeting, right?
Sure.
And so, of course, the media is all blown up about that. Of course, they forgot about the fact that Obama had mentioned to one of the Russian diplomats during his presidency that he'd have a lot more flexibility during his. So if you're just tuning in, I'm Glenn Wiggle. We're the financial guys. This is Mike Lomas, and here with you each and every Saturday morning.
Happy Saturday morning. I got to make sure my tie is right.
It's always adjust the opposite of what the camera looks like.
You know what? It's funny, and I still can never figure that out. And I'll look at it, and then it just gets worse and worse.
It's like looking in a mirror, but it's not a mirror. So
happy Saturday morning, by the way, to Buffalo. And it's funny, you're talking about Russia. You know, everybody forgot that Hillary reached out. Remember, we'll talk more about that. The reset button.
Yeah, that they spelled wrong.
Obama went out and said, "Hey, when I win." We'll have a lot more flexibility.
That's right.
Yeah. Everybody forgot. Amnesia on the left. Total amnesia on the left.
Ignored that completely when he said that. So we'll put that clip up on our Facebook page or on our Twitter feed. But he literally reached over and said, "I have a lot more flexibility after my election. Go tell Vlad that." So and the media just ignored it. Like that's the most amazing thing.
They have amnesia, and it's amazing how the left, they just continue. No matter what you do, if you're a registered Democrat, you just get away with everything. There's a clip we'll play in a second here about Obama this week, right? He's overseas talking about how shameful it is to have a big house, to have nice dinners, to have nice things. And let's play that clip. Can we play that clip? Let's play the clip.
I'm actually surprised by how much money I got. And let me tell you something.
He's shocked.
I don't have half as much as most of these folks, or a tenth or 100th. There's only so much you can eat. There's only so big a house you can have.
Is that right?
There's only so many nice trips you can take.
Right out of the Clinton playbook there, right?
Yep.
There's only so much. Shame on people for making money.
Right.
Hey, does anybody know that they had bought an $8.1 million home in Chicago with a wall around it?
That's right.
And they put the wall in after.
That's right. So he's making this speech, right? He's talking about the fact you don't need a big house.
No.
How much do you need? Then he hops on his private jet, flies back to his $8 million mansion.
Right.
With the giant wall around.
He talks about shame on you for having wealth and money, right?
Yeah.
I don't even have half of what these people have. Well, you made $20 million last year. You bought an $8.1 million house with 9 bathrooms.
That's right.
Talk about a little excessive. I think you only have 2 kids.
That's right. And then he built the wall around.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
I'm not shaming you for making money, but when you do the Obama garbage play or the Clinton Obama garbage playbook of, I'm going to here to help the rich or the poor, shame on you for being wealthy, and then you go out and buy an $8.1 million home.
Well,
there's something a little bit hypocritical about that.
He did the same thing. He was vacationing in Hawaii, right? And then he flew back to Washington to lecture all of us on income inequality. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
No, you cannot. You cannot. And shame on you for all those lefts that follow these clowns. Whether it's the Clintons, whether it's Cuomo. By the way, he wasted $30 million, I think, last week.
To change the color of the brick.
Thank you. As a taxpayer, I really appreciate that. We couldn't have used that anywhere else.
Well, for a state that is, constantly running deficits and, constantly behind, we're a $165 billion budget. We'll talk about that maybe next week. But he's spending $30 million like it's nothing. So anyway, coming up next, we got Sheriff Howard in the next segment. If you need us throughout the week, folks, we do manage money for a living. You can always reach us at 633-1515. Again, 633-1515. We have a fantastic team of investment professionals that can help you in a lot of different areas. So stay tuned. You got more Money Talks coming right up here on Channel 7. Alrighty, welcome back to Money Talks here on Channel 7. Again, I'm your host today, Glenn Wiggle, here with Mike Lomas, and we are the financial guys. You can hear us each and every Saturday from 9 to 9:30 right here on Channel 7, and you can tune in every afternoon from 1 to 3, where we've been for the last almost 20 years on WBEN Radio, AM 930. I'm very pleased to welcome a special guest to our first time on with us on the TV show, Sheriff Howard. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
We pulled in the parking lot at the same time, and Sheriff Howard pulls in on an orange orange Harley. What better way for a sheriff to pull in on
How
a nice
cool
big
is that?
Harley? I'm like,
Nostalgic, by the way, too.
That's awesome.
And I got to add the bragging rights that was seized from a drug dealer. So that's
Awesome.
Even better. I thought,
To the victors.
outside of, except, horseback would have been good, but
I have that
but a
too.
Harley's great.
I've
Harley's
been
great,
here on a
so.
horse before
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
you
Not
saw
to
the
this show.
you saw the last segment we were talking about the hypocrisy of some of these folks on the left. Obama really, I mean, Obama, the Clintons. It's amazing how they attack the police department. They attack guns, right? They want to take your guns, but yet they're all protected by walls and guns.
Yeah, hypocrisy was the perfect word because it's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
They've got their own armed guards,
Yeah,
but no one else should have firearms to protect
That's right.
themselves.
Well, I think it was Como that was down in New York City that they were doing that die-in, that protest. So he's there on the floor protesting, taking away guns
Yeah.
or whatever. He's surrounded by armed security. I mean, is this somehow is lost on the left? I mean, if I'm in that position and I'm going to protest guns, I would probably say, okay, armed guards, maybe go, or maybe I just use my head and common sense and say, well, maybe if it's good for me, everybody else should have the same type of protections. But there's definitely this elite versus everybody else, and we as common folk apparently don't deserve the same protections as some of our elite politicians do.
You just set the stage for me. We have common sense and we have Como sense, and that's exactly that's Como sense. So that's not and to jump ahead maybe to the latest law that he's pushing to empower school teachers or school employees, including bus drivers or anyone else that works for the school, to give them direct access to the courts to discuss a student that may be, or the student's family that may be a threat to the community, very clearly, very deliberately says, wait a minute, why are you cutting law enforcement out of this?
Yeah, right.
So it's not that there's no concern there, because
Right.
I don't believe everyone should have a firearm, but I believe that responsible people that are compliant with the law, it's their God-given right to protect themselves and to be armed as our Constitution says. But to cut the law enforcement out of this in the delay between when this school employee gets to court, what might this individual have done, and who better to share that with than law enforcement? So why is the governor trying to build a greater wall between teachers and police?
Well, he's been doing that on a number of different issues, right? Illegal immigration is one of them. If you're a state police officer, and we actually got a call from somebody, a state police officer cannot arrest an illegal immigrant and hand him over to ICE. That's unreal.
And at the same time, when we talk about all the government's concern about the drug, the opioid epidemic, if we can't control the people coming across the border, then how can we expect to control the powder?
Well, there was
so the people are much larger. So the smaller package, we can't control the big package. How do you expect to control the small package?
Well, we do have an opioid epidemic. It's a horrible epidemic, and 90% of the heroin, according to statistics, comes across our southern border. And yet we still don't seem to want to build this wall and protect our communities. In fact, not only do we not want to build a wall, you got Governor Cuomo here offering them, free housing, free tuition,
free attorneys.
free attorneys.
They get a free attorney now.
I mean, that's insane to me.
And to walls. I mean, the Pope once announced our current president for desire to build a wall. He has a wall around the Vatican. Of course, right? I mean, does the former president have a wall around the home, the $8 million home?
Oh, yeah, he
in
does.
Chicago?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, then why is it good for them and not good for?
He bought the house and they put a wall in.
Right.
They actually
he built
upgraded the wall. Unreal.
What I don't understand is that when you look at the different cities, that are most violent in guns across the country, Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit, right? These are all run by liberal Democrats with the same anti-gun policies. You look at Chicago. Chicago has, some of the toughest personal carry gun laws in the country.
Now, you can't even buy bullets. You cannot even buy bullets in the city of Chicago yet. Every single day, people are getting shot.
Right.
Which is proof positive that the gun laws don't work.
That's
we
right.
can't focus on the gun. We have to focus on the person.
You've been in law enforcement for a long time. Have you ever seen bad guys turn in their guns? Unregistered? Have they ever just stopped by and said, hey, you know what? I heard that there's this new gun law thing going on.
So I'm here, they're surrendering my guns.
Here they are. You know?
Great financial discussion. No wonder our state's broke when we use taxpayer money to buy firearms back from people that don't want them or can't have them. And then once we acquire them, we destroy them. I mean, how long would any business last if that was their business plan?
I got to believe that some of these guns that are turned in, some of these gun buyback programs are historic in nature. I mean, I'm guessing that a lot of it is, widows and older folks that just, maybe their husband's passed away, they want to turn the gun and they don't know what to do with it. You know, and I'm thinking that maybe some of these should be potentially resold. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a big history buff.
Yeah.
So I see some of these historic firearms, and I think, oh my God, to destroy something like that
Yeah.
is like destroying an antique chair or something from our historical past.
People say all I do is criticize. I don't have an alternative plan. Not true. I mean, the gun dealers should run those gun buybacks.
Right.
We have some law enforcement there to check for either unlawful,
Sure.
defaced, stolen firearms.
Yeah.
After that, it's the gun dealers that should be buying
Yeah.
the firearms from the individuals.
We
that wish to
could
get rid of
actually
them.
make some money as a taxpayer.
And-
No
and-
kidding.
yep, and sales tax
Exactly.
when they're sold, and there'd be the next checks that have to be done
No doubt.
by
Yeah.
the gun dealers. So
That's
the
right.
whole thing, use common sense,
Yeah, no
not
doubt.
Como sense.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a very short break, and we got more to come with Sheriff Howard here on Money Talk, so stay tuned. We'll be right back here on Channel 7. All right, welcome back here to Money Talks on Channel 7. Again, I'm your host, Glenn Wiggle, here with Mike Lomas, and we are the Financial Guys. You can also hear us every Saturday afternoon on WBEN from 1 to 3. We've been doing the Financial Guys radio program for 18, 19, going on 20 years. Hard to believe it's been that long. We were just talking in the last segment with Sheriff Howard. We appreciate you coming on, and wanted to get and talk about the SAFE Act. So thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate it. The SAFE Act, of course, is on everybody's mind, right? Something you still see signs on people's front lawns.
Yeah.
It's still frustrating to me to the fact that, you know, I don't know that there's been any crime that has been prevented. I mean, certainly nobody wants school shootings, right? Nobody wants gun violence. But when we just talked in the last segment about Chicago and Baltimore, and the places that have the strictest gun laws have typically the highest gun violence, coincidentally, because it prevents law-abiding people from access to those guns. Now, in New York, the SAFE Act has basically forced registration of AR-15s. It's limited magazine capacity. You know, I don't know, you've got a lot of years of law enforcement. I mean, does a criminal that's going to commit an armed robbery really care about how many bullets are in his magazine?
I mean, it's, you know, a rhetorical question.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
the answer. But this is begging for a true scientific study, not one that's orchestrated by one side to prove their position.
Yeah.
I'll acknowledge there's faults, but very early on in this, I said, let's grab real quick who's committing gun crimes here in Erie County. So I called to the jail and said, give me a printout of the last 10 individuals brought into the Erie County Jail on any type of weapons offense. They gave me very quickly the last 10. 9 of them involved firearms, 1 involved some type of weapon other than a firearm. So we'll get that one out of the picture. Of the 9 involving firearms, every one of them was already a convicted felon.
Right.
6 of the 9 had already been convicted of a violent felony.
Right.
None of them had yet reached their 23rd birthday.
Wow.
So, I mean, and like saying, hey, the picture's pretty clear here.
Yeah, right.
Why would an individual that's already committed a violent felony, they had to have been 16, they're not yet 23, they're out in the streets long enough. So if they had committed that first crime on their 16th birthday, got convicted that quick, again, at some point you'd expect them to do some time in jail.
Yeah,
but
right.
they're out in the streets.
They're right back
committing-
in the street,
And
yeah.
there's our answer.
And the gun's not registered, right?
Well, I mean, I didn't look at that because it wasn't information that was already
But if
available.
they were previous felons, and they shouldn't
cannot-
have been lawfully
Shouldn't have been-
purchased.
right.
a
Doesn't matter
firearm.
what the firearm. So we didn't look at the type of firearm. Actually, I referred this to Dr. Floss from Hilbert College, and I think he's got graduate students working on taking a bigger look. It was a very unscientific study. I don't think that those numbers would be borne out statewide or nationwide, but it still points to the problem. If people, it's the criminals
Yeah.
that are committing gun crimes.
And
Or already
probably a whole different show to get you back on. But to me, a huge problem is we continue to let these same people out.
Well, that is a
out and
problem.
out. And I hear that the prisons are overfilled, and I'm thinking, well, they've got air conditioning and they've got all the workout equipment and stuff. And can't we just throw them all in one jail and let them suffer?
Prison population is down, but I just had a discussion with some other individuals. When are we going to start worrying about as much about the veterans and the quality of
That's
life
right.
of veterans that put their life on the line for
Exactly.
the sake of our country?
Right. That's
right.
And saying, okay, like I don't believe inmates should be mistreated, but I don't think they should be treated better than our veterans
I
Right.
couldn't
or our
agree
senior
more.
citizens.
Well, they're getting iPads now. They're getting
Yeah.
access to computers.
That's
They're
right.
getting
I
air
can't get- I
conditioning.
can't
They're
afford
getting.
it.
I mean, all this crazy.
That's right. One of the arguments is the cost of health care and specifically elder care, right? I go into a nursing home, I lose all my net worth, but yet we're spending millions of dollars to give prisoners cable TV and the best of everything.
I'll never forget the shooting. We were at Payne Weber at the time, years and years and years ago,
Yeah.
at City Place, and it was 8 people were shot, 4 people were killed. And I remember reading the rap sheet of the guy, and it was like he had like 2 previous gun violations, 3 assaults, and this and that. Like, why is this guy out in the streets?
How did he get out?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
We come down to it. The SAFE Act is a diversion. And it's an attempt by our politicians to say, stop looking at our failures and look what I'm doing for you.
Yeah, right.
And the answer is nothing.
That's
You're
right.
stalling
It's a
us. You're getting
feel-good.
us to look over there.
Don't look at the
Pretend you're
Buffalo
fixing
billion that we
things.
just wasted on Solar City. Don't look at that.
The SAFE Act, what bothered me the most, squandered a real opportunity to all the interested parties to sit down and come up with something meaningful. And instead of that, we've spent, 5 years now fighting about a foolish law that little by little the courts are beginning to chip away at. I think on the
well, it
West
takes
Coast,
away our freedom,
liberal
so.
courts have ruled that 10-round magazine, I think, in California, was ruled to be unconstitutional.
Right.
We already had a ruling in New York that the 7-round rule
Right.
wasn't right, but the 10-round was okay.
Right.
I think we'll see some changes coming and some eyes getting open. And remember, this is you can't give up your rights for the sake of your
That's right.
your safety. You
Yeah.
can have both.
You can
so
have
we
both.
need to do something real.
Sheriff Howard, thank you so much for
Awesome.
joining us. Really
Keep up the
appreciate
good
it.
fight, buddy. We
Thank you
appreciate
so
it. We'll get
much.
you back. We'll get you on the
Thank you.
radio with us. On,
Absolutely.
WBN.
I love it.
All right, stay tuned. We got one more segment to come. You're not going to want to miss this. If you need us throughout the week, folks, again, we do manage money for a living. You can reach us at the office at 633-1515. That's 633-1515. We'll be right back. Alrighty, welcome back. Final segment of Money Talks here on Channel 7. Thanks for joining us. Again, I'm your host, Glenn Wiggler, here with Mike Lomas. And again, we are the financial guys. And if you do need us throughout the week, folks, we do manage money for a living. We have an office full of investment professionals that focus on everything from retirement planning to estate planning to 401ks, healthcare, and even veterans benefits. And we have one of those veterans here with us today, our very own Jay Blanchard, who just completed an epic cross-country trip. So thanks again for joining us, Jay, and thanks for everything you do for our office and for the community as well.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now, when we say cross country, it's funny because people say, "What did Jay drive across the country?" I said, "No, he was on a bike." And they say, "Oh, a motorcycle?" No, a bike. Like he rode a bike across the country, 4,200 miles.
Yeah, it's done.
And when you told us you were going to do this, I said, honestly, I said, "You're crazy." David Bellavia, by the way, on WBN said, he goes, "Can't you just get a bike and ride in Wiggles' basement or Lomas's basement?" You're actually. So the funny thing is you told me you're going to ride 4,200 miles and you're going to raise money for widows of veterans,
Right.
and I thought that's incredible. But I thought 4,200 miles, holy cow! But then I forgot, wait a minute, there's mountains, there's rain,
And snow.
and snow, and a tornado. You ran into a tornado.
Yeah, I did. The stories are endless. It was an epic adventure.
Yeah.
And really the highlight of the whole thing was not the majestic mountains or the tornado that chased me. It was the great American people that I met along the way.
Yeah, that's incredible. People actually specifically knew and followed you. Not only did our clients follow you online and on Facebook and they followed your journey, but people actually met you at destinations.
Yeah,
right?
I had as you guys know, I had a satellite tracker and my progress was mapped online. And people that, are great spectators of the race would actually track me and, it'd be like a surprise. I'd be riding along and here's a car and they'd be like, here's some Gatorade, man, you're doing great.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was really cool.
Oh, incredible.
You didn't meet any Hillary supporters on the way, I'm assuming, right?
I had very little negative people interaction along the way. It was almost all positive. And the people of the heartland love Trump.
Yeah.
They just love Trump, and most of them are conservative. The kind of the last part of the race, I was in red, white, and blue, and it just drew people to make comments like a magnet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now tell us about what you raised money for the American Widows Project.
Correct.
Tell us a bit about that organization and how people can support it.
Yeah, so the American Widow Project has one charter, and that's helping widows of American servicemen. So if somebody gets either killed in war or commits suicide after because of PTSD, it leaves a family, it leaves a wife, and within 3 to 6 months they're off a base, off a post, and they're on their own. They lose the financials, they lose all that networking support, they lose all their friends, and so this organization comes in to help them. They don't give out money. They teach them how to adapt and overcome with their new situation in life.
And as you have said multiple times, no spouse would sign up to lose
Right.
You know, their husband or their wife, right?
You know, it's a totally different thing. So I was a volunteer,
Yeah.
right? I was willing to give up my life for my country. Still today I am. But you know, wives wouldn't do that, right? Your wife wouldn't give you up,
Right.
And your kids wouldn't even think about that.
No.
So, and some of the children weren't even born when their
Right.
father died.
Ugh.
Well, thanks for doing an unbelievable, great thing for charity. It was an epic journey across the country. It took you 44 days, so that's a huge sacrifice. 44 days away from your family,
Right.
away from the office, away from your
Yeah.
clients. Yeah, that's a big deal, and it was a tremendous trip. So thank you again for not only your service, but thank you for all you do for our office and for the community.
People
of
can
Western
still
New York.
donate, right?
Yep, they can still donate. The website, www.rideforwidows.com, is still up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jay. We appreciate it. That's
Thanks,
going to
Glenn.
do it for us today on Money Talks. Again, if you need us throughout the week, folks, we do manage money for a living. You can reach us at the office, 633-1515. Again, 633-1515. On behalf of Mike Lomas, I'm Glenn Wiggle with the Financial Guys, and we'll see you right right here on Money Talks next week. Take care.